Okay, so let me know where you can see my screen, my
Yeah,
Google
I
screen.
can. Yeah,
Yep.
perfect.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take you through creating a knowledge panel for your brand, Parka and Boots Photography. So a knowledge panel,
Yeah.
your knowledge panel will be something like this. I have three examples to show you. It'll be something similar to this, where you have both the left-hand row, Google's recommendations, the right-hand row, which is the knowledge panel. And in this case, you
Hmm.
also have a top-hand panel, which is also a knowledge panel. It can be like this, also like this. And there's a third one I want to show you for illustration purposes, similar to either
Hmm.
of these three. So let's come into your knowledge panel. So when you Google your brand, you have your left-hand row here, Google's recommendations, which is great. You have site links as well, which is a good sign that Google is aware of your
Oh,
site architecture. So that's a
oh,
really,
I'm
really good sign.
pleased.
Indeed. On
Yes.
the right-hand side, you have this right here. I find this very interesting. This right here is when you click on it, it opens up to a new site. So this to me is like a sign that Google just wants to confirm I am seeking your brand. So perhaps there's some ambiguity with Google not understanding if there is another brand such as this. And just to be sure, it also says see results about. And when you click on it, it opens
Mm.
up to this, which is quite a really good brand SERP. You have your left-hand rail and your right-hand rail, which
Mm.
is currently populated by your Google My Business listings. This is slightly
Yeah.
different to a knowledge panel. Google My Business listings is definitely a good sign. However, a knowledge panel will be better for folks who are not necessarily close to your location. And when you have a knowledge panel, you'll find that when someone Googles your brand and they're close to you, you'll see the Google My Business listings and then the knowledge panel below it. For folks that are far away, it will be the inverse. So you'll have the knowledge panel first and then Google My
Ah,
Business listings below it. So
oh,
let's come
interesting.
onto your site. Yeah, it's fascinating once you get into knowledge panels, creating and then shaping the way you want your knowledge panel
Yeah.
to show up. So
Yes.
as
I
we
feel
come onto
pleased
your
with
site,
what you're telling me already.
oh yeah, you've been I see you've been working on your site for some time, so everything you've done on the site so
Yeah.
far has been beneficial to you. Now it's a case
Yeah.
of okay, let's continue with it. So when you land on
Exactly.
your site, there are three things you need for a knowledge panel to be triggered. I'll give you the overview and then delve into each one. So the first thing you need is to have what we SEOs call an entity home. An entity is essentially a name, place, or thing. In this case, the name of your business, your brand, Parka and Boots Photography. You'll want a home. A home in terms of a website is essentially a page on your website. So that's the first thing you want. The second thing is a clear, concise description. And this description, it needs to be in a specific format. Definitely the first sentence of the description should be in a specific format. And I'll delve into that momentarily. And the third thing is consistency of your brand description
Mm.
or your entity
Mm.
description across the web. Now, what I find interesting about your site, I was having a look at it earlier, and I see that you
Mm.
have several pages on the site, but essentially the main page is the homepage
Mm.
for the brand Parka and Boots Photography. Now, ideally, in cases like this, where your name, Flee, and your business name are two different brands. So you have your business brand and your personal brand. Ideally, you want to have a distinct page for each one. In this case, I'm going to focus on Parka and Boots. Now, for your Parka and Boots brand, I recommend having a new page created, which will be the About page. Now, the reason I recommend this is because the homepage of a site is usually is usually catered towards the branding geared towards users. What we want for Google to create a knowledge panel, we want a page where Google uses as the source of the knowledge panel, the source of information. And typically the homepage wouldn't be that source because the homepage is used for other marketing purposes, right? So we want to create a new page, ideally and about.
Yeah.
Oh, excellent.
I did create it as a landing page. Yeah. So it's all in one place. So I haven't got any other links there at all. So I didn't want people to get distracted. I wanted them just to go. But I understand now that I need this separate page for Google to recognize. So.
Yeah, so it's funny you mentioned it's all one page. I was also about to delve into that because you have technically different pages, but they have the same content on there. And what Google has done is picked up on those different pages. You'll see on here, if you were to, you have like 4 or 5 pages on the site, technically 5 pages, but they all have the same content. Essentially, when you consider a URL a page, right? So when you have a URL, and in this case, I'm sure perhaps there's either a URL linked on this page or there's URLs for different sections. It is quite a long page. So there's probably different URLs for the sections, and Google's picked this up from the server, which is why it's crawled it from your server, which is why it's saying to anyone who Googles it that there are 5 URLs on there, i.e. 5 pages on there. But when you delve into each one, they're exactly the same as this.
Yes.
So that will be an interesting aspect to work on, but that can be a separate discussion. For the purposes of the knowledge panel, what we want is an About Us page, and the URL for that can follow this path. So it will be /about. So Parka and Boots photography.com/about. Now, once you have that page will use as the source of your knowledge panel. So what we'll be saying to Google is crawl this About page and populate the knowledge panel based on the information on this About page. And this is where we get into the second part of the 3 important aspects of a knowledge panel. This deals with the entity description, brand description. Now, if you have, let me go back to these 3 examples here. You'll notice that they all start with the name of the person, the brand is, and then what they do. Every single one of them. I'll show you these 3 very quickly. Same example. Name of the person is, and then what they do. It's exactly the same as the third one. And this right here we call it's a subject verb object type of format. And we have this format specifically so that Google understands the entity succinctly. So it'll be a case of having this sort of format for your About page. So start with Parka and Boots Photography as the subject, is as the verb, and then the description of the business. That first sentence has to be in that specific format: subject, verb, object. Now, you can have 2 or 3 other sentences to that, but that beginning sentence should be in that format for that page. And what this is saying to Google is it's giving it an understanding of the brand in a very simple, childlike manner, where it reads it and goes ahead and has confidence in its understanding based on that specific format. So that's the second important aspect of the 3 steps. Second most important aspect of the 3 steps. The third one is to have the same description for the entity across your social media platforms. Now, this is where it can get a bit tricky because I noticed you have social media. I believe okay. So you have your social media links on here, but at the moment, 2 things. One is you will need this social media links on the about page. And secondly, ideally, it should be the link, the social media of the entity, of the brand. Currently, these social media links, I actually only had a look at LinkedIn, but it goes to your personal branding LinkedIn page. And what this right here is saying to Google is it's a conflict. It makes it less easy to understand the brand, because you have your personal branding, your name, and you also have your business branding. Those are 2 distinct types of branding. Ideally, for each brand, we want a specific page for them. And when we have links to either one, we want the links to be to that specific brand when the brand is featured on other platforms such as social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, etc. So there are 2 things we can do here. We can either create a page on these platforms for Parka and Boots Photography specifically. Alternatively, not have this links on the about page and use different links instead. Essentially, any link outside of your website, ideally you want to feature it on the about page, assuming the link is about the brand. So this right here is saying to Google that the brand Parka and Boots Photography, the home of the brand is your website, specifically your about page. So that is the source of information to build your knowledge panel. The brand is also featured on other places across the internet. And we want them featured on other places around the internet to be shown on the about page, because it informs Google of where they can find those pages. And the more they are aware of both your about page and other pages across the web, the more confidence they'll have in their understanding of your brand. And over a period of time, usually about 6 to 9 months, they will then create a knowledge panel. It takes a while. It takes that long because Google really wants to ensure that they have their facts correct, right? I don't know if you've sometimes Googled something, seen the knowledge panel and say to yourself, that's not right.
Maybe. I wasn't aware of knowledge panels before, so it's all really new. So
yeah, the fact about the brand is quite important because Google wants to ensure that they have this right for their users, anyone who Googles them. If, for example, for this lady, if they have her age incorrect, it doesn't bode well for Google at all. And what tends to happen if the information is incorrect, they'll tend to remove the knowledge panel and only show it after they have enough confidence in it. So confidence in their understanding is a big factor. This is why having one's entity home for their entity is important, rather than relying on Wikipedia, because Wikipedia you don't own, you don't control. It's often wrong, Wikipedia, unfortunately. So those are the 3 steps you want. Ensure you have an entity home, your about page. Have the entity description in a simple manner, subject, verb, object, with that first sentence. And the third thing is to have the description of your entity across the web, wherever your entity is across the web. This is where social media platforms is a really good thing to use. This right here is an example of a photo boxes knowledge panel. They have quite a nice knowledge panel. Unfortunately, theirs is partially built by Wikipedia. You really want to stay away from Wikipedia completely. Google themselves are slowly moving away from Wikipedia because of, for one reason, what I mentioned earlier, with the inaccuracy of Wikipedia. So owning and controlling it with your own website is the route to take. Now, you'll find that once you have your knowledge panel, it will be something similar to this, where you'll have your website. It will be your website and most likely the about page. The description will come from your website. And you wouldn't have this Wikipedia link here because it's coming directly from your website. What you'll have instead is something similar to this, and this sign right here, claim this knowledge panel. This will be the last thing to do, if you like. This will be Google wanting you to confirm their understanding of it. Now, this step has to be done by you, because you'll need your identity, either passport, driving license, something like that, and to claim it. So I, for example, wouldn't be able to claim this lady's knowledge panel. It has to be that specific person claiming their knowledge panel. But once you see something like this, claim this knowledge panel, it's a sign that, okay, your knowledge panel is here and it's most likely here to stay. In some cases, you might have a knowledge panel which starts to sprout. And this is an example of a knowledge panel that is starting to sprout. It has some information on here. It hasn't really been built out. And this is a case of, okay, if yours is similar to this, that's fine, claim it, and you can then go ahead and build it. Once you have your knowledge panel triggered, the next step will be to continuously build it out. And this is where eventually it will be something similar to this. The more information that you want to provide for your knowledge panel, the more it can sprout, the more it can build out to something like this on Google, where you'll either have two roles or indeed 3, depending on the information that you have on your site, on your about page. And this right here is another example of a knowledge panel. I think this guy, he is the founder of the celebrity branding agency website. So this is for this brand, and the founder, Nick Nanton, also has it for his personal branding. And this is something that you can definitely attain for yours as well. Just remember, a brand is an entity, and you want to have one entity page per brand. So either your business brand and or your personal branding, both can be attained with your website. In his case, he has his own unique, he has his own separate website, which is used, which is fine. He just right now needs to build it out a bit more and not rely on Wikipedia.
Okay. So what would I need to do to sort of combine? So I am obviously Flee Chavasse, and that's how I set up my LinkedIn. But Parka and Boots is the name I chose as my sort of business name. So how would I sort of merge the two, or what would I do next? What's best?
Ideally, you wouldn't want to. You wouldn't want to merge them. You'd want to have them as two separate entities. Now, if you want to build your knowledge panel for both of them, that's doable. If you want to build it out for one or the other, that's also fine. You just need to decide which is more, if you like, prominent for you, and start with that one. So if your personal branding is more important, instead of building the about page, which will be about your business, build a page that's about you, your personal branding. So in this case, it will be in that case, it will be parkaandbootsphotography.com/your name. And that page will be about yourself.
Oh, okay. Okay. That's all right then.
Yeah, same principles. Same principles apply. It's just remember, one entity, one page, one entity home, as we like to say.
So, and on your website, you can only have one about page. You can't have two, because then that's going to confuse everything. Just one about page. Is that right?
You can have, essentially, the page. I'm suggesting an about page as an example. You can have more than one page. The point of an entity home is that page is dedicated to your knowledge panel. So you can have a page that's about, you can have a page for yourself, your personal branding on your website, as well as a page for your brand, business brand. So two pages essentially. So similar. Let me see if I can show you an example. I'll show you what I've done similar with mine. So mine, I have a personal branding on my website, Democratizing SEO. And the page I have for it is a page that's about me, but I also have a page that's about democratizing SEO. So this right here is for my personal brand. And let me type in democratizing. So this right here is for my podcast. So two different entities, but using the same website for it. So you can do something similar with yours, where your about page. Yeah. So your about page will be about Parka and Boots Photography, and then another page for your personal branding. That would also work.
Okay.
Yeah, the important thing to remember is the a page per entity rule. One page, one entity.
Okay. Yeah. Fine.
So, any other questions or any other points you want me to delve into?
No, I think that makes sense, and it's nice and straightforward. So I've got to go and have some work, do some work. I mean, I suppose it'd be good to know if the essence of my website is okay, because obviously I've built it myself. So if the essence of it is okay, then I'm happy to sort of carry on and work on it and do, make improvements. But it'd be great to develop the knowledge panel. Yeah, it'd be really good. It's new knowledge to me, so that's brilliant.
Yeah, the site looks good. You have. Yeah, the site looks good. You have the site links in place, so a knowledge panel can definitely be triggered for it. As a separate issue, it will be having the same content across those pages, those 5 pages I mentioned. That will be something that we'll need to address at a later stage, because that essentially is saying to Google, the same content across these pages, it's a duplicate content issue, which is not necessarily great. It's not harming your sites as I've seen it so far. But at a later point, it will be okay. It will be a case of addressing those pages and making them unique or removing them.
Yeah. Okay. And is it showing, did you say that's showing 5 pages because there are 5 sort of URL links? My contact me, me. Is it?
Yeah. So you have, let me see if I can go back to it. You have let me go on to, okay, so you have a page that's a contact us, a legal page, privacy page, and also a gallery page. So I believe that's a case of, let me share my screen again. I believe that's a case of you having those URLs either somewhere on your, so you have here the homepage, the gallery page, contact us, legal, and then privacy page. These are URLs. Yeah, okay. I call them pages. They're essentially URLs, and they all are the same as this page, right? The home page. The content on them is exactly the same. It's just you have the URLs created for them. I believe either the URLs are somewhere within the page, or it's on your server somewhere.
But something we can sort out.
So some work. Yeah, definitely. Some work to do as a site there. But the knowledge panel will be a case of creating a new page, ideally for either your business brand and or your personal branding on your site.
Perfect. That's great advice. That's really, really useful and very, very clearly laid out as well, Austine. So that's brilliant. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, have a play around with it. I'm sure you'll be very fascinated as I am with it once you start building it out, and once you trigger it and start building it out. It's great fun to see it flourish.
Yeah, definitely. Yes, I'll be shouting about it. Yeah, so thank you. That's fantastic.
Awesome. Pleasure. Yeah, have a play around with it. If you need more support with it, feel free to give me a shout, and we can work something out.
Brilliant. Thank you, Austine. That's really good. Thank you.